We're here in Final Cut Pro, and I've got 4 clips from my recent Australian road trip that I've just been on. So we've got these 3 here. These ones are all flat picture profile shots, and then these ones here, this drone shot's just a normal profile shot. So we'll start with this one here. And just before you start adjusting any of these settings, you need to go up to Window, Workspaces, and just click this Color and Effects tab. Now this is in order to pull up this RGB parade graph here. So if you can get rid of these ones here by just clicking the square up here, then you're all set. So this RGB parade graph allows us to see the exposure of the whole image. So if you come back over to the color board here and you move up the exposure, you can see over here on the left that everything's correlating when you move the dial. So this means that we'll be able to track exactly how high our highlights and our shadows are going. So you see up here this 100 mark. This mark is exactly where the whitest whites go. So if you drag anything above there, the whites will become blown out and you won't be able to return them, you won't be able to fix them when you bring them back down in mid-tones or anything like that. So don't ever drag anything above the 100 mark here, and it's the same for the bottom down here. Don't ever drag anything below 0 because that's going past the blackest black. So if you see the reef down here, if you drag this one down here and then try to pull it back up, it's not going to come up because these are just blown out down on the bottom end. So now we're here in our exposure tab. We've got the globals, which adjust everything. We've got the shadows, which just do shadows. We've got midtones here, and we've got the highlights. So usually what a lot of people do is they just what I do personally is I usually drag up the globals all the way to 100, so just before it's peaking, and then to create contrast I drag the midtones down. And what this is doing is allowing me to go in and actually touch up the shot once I've done this with the shadows and highlights, so I can actually get more out of the shot instead of just using the shadows and highlights to give it a little bit of contrast. Drag the shadows up to about there. And there you go. So if I take that off and on, you can see the difference that I've just done there, just from moving up the globals and midtones. We could add a little bit more just to make it pop a little bit. And then we can pull the shadows down a little bit and pull the highlights down a little bit more, just to make it a little more real, make it look a bit natural. So that's looking pretty good so far. And then in the color board, what you can do is you can drag the wheels around if you're feeling like you want to change the mood a little bit, maybe make it a little bit darker or a bit lighter. If you see up here, the plus means you're adding, so I'm adding greens to the globals right now, and if I'm minusing, see I'm minusing blues to the shadows, so the shadows are becoming quite yellow. Next we'll come over to this one over here. This is a really flat shot. So you can see here in the RGB parade that the colors are quite narrow. There's lots of room to move around. So same thing as last time, we'll go into the globals and we'll pull them up almost all the way to 100, just so we don't blow out the whites. Bang, the shot comes to life. And you can see down here, we've still got heaps of room before we go down to 0. So we can even pull the shadows down just a bit. And you see we've still got plenty of room. This is the benefit of shooting in a flat profile. You can drag it up and down all day because you'll have so much room to just mess around with the shot. So that's starting to look pretty good there. There we go. So you can see the difference. This is before, this is after. So that's looking nice, but I know we can make it look nicer with some color saturation and stuff like that. So let's go over to the saturation tab and boost that a bit. That looks good. And then we'll come over to the color tab. I usually just boost the blues a bit to make it look like it's deeper than it actually is. So if you see here, I'm adding the blues to the globals. It's giving it that deep reef oceany look. So now we've got that, we can also boost the reef colors by just dragging up the shadows in the reds just a little bit so I get that color on them. Keep messing around with the mid-tones and the highlights, still making sure that that deep blue look's still there, but just playing around a little bit to just boost that a little bit more. And there we go. So that's that super flat shot before and after. Super flat, looks like garbage. Bang. Perfectly color graded, looks nice. Looks like a deep ocean reef shot, which is what it was. So that's looking really nice. We'll just do this shot here. So I've already color corrected this one. I'll show you the before and after. That's before, that's after. So it's basically doing the exact same thing. So coming in, you see I've dragged the globals up a bit, dragged the midtones down, tweaked it with the shadows and the highlights, added a massive amount of saturation. You see I take the saturation off here. It just dulls the shot heaps. So this one, I definitely wanted the greens to pop, so drag the saturation up a lot, and then just mess with these ones here just to add a little bit more green to the shot. So you can see here that I'm using this plugin MLUT, which allows me to import my LUT to Final Cut Pro. And I can just adjust the intensity here to see how that LUT goes. So you see how it's just made it really, really teal and orange. So if you're going for that look, there's definitely the option of using LUTs to color grade. Personally, for this shot, I wouldn't use a LUT because I like the look of the natural greens here, but if you're going for a teal and orange vibe in your edit, then you can definitely just chuck on a LUT and just play around with it. It definitely still looks good. But yeah,